Prince Andrew. Virginia Giuffre's death. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Virginia Giuffre, who accused Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein of sexual abuse, died recently, aged 41. Her family explained she took her own life. Ms. Giuffre was one of the most outspoken accusers of convicted sex offenders Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his former girlfriend. Giuffre alleged that they had trafficked her to the Duke of York when she was 17 years old, something which Prince Andrew has strenuously denied. There are those that regard her as a victim of sexual abuse. There are others that saw her as complicit with Epstein and Maxwell, possibly against her will. Others think that she was a willing individual, content to work as an escort and become involved with them, and enjoyed being jetted around the world and servicing high-value and famous clients. But irrespective of what people might think about Virginia Giuffre, what is the position of Prince Andrew in relation to the news that his accuser is now dead? Some people have described her as a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse, and that ultimately the toll of the abuse became unbearable. Relatives stated she lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. In a statement, they stated the mother of three was the light that lifted so many survivors, and she died at her farm in Western Australia. She was found by police who were called to a home in the Neergabi area on Friday night, where Miss Giuffre was found unresponsive. Giuffre, who was born in the United States, had been living with her children and husband Robert in the suburb of North Perth, although recent reports suggested the couple had split after 22 years of marriage. 3 weeks ago, Miss Giuffre posted on Instagram to say she had been seriously injured in a car accident, which her family later said she had not intended to make public. Local police later disputed the severity of the crash. After making her abuse allegations public, Miss Giuffre became a prominent campaigner and is closely associated with the Me Too movement. She alleged that she was trafficked when she was 17. Prince Andrew has denied all of the claims against him, denial being the first line of the twin lines of the narcissistic defence, and he reached an out-of-court settlement with her in 2022. The settlement included a statement in which he expressed regret for his association with Epstein, but contained no admission of liability or apology. A brief summary of the position of the life of Virginia Giuffre vis-à-vis her involvement with Epstein and also with Ghislaine Maxwell. Prince Andrew, as I've explained in separate videos, is a narcissist, and by my categorization is an upper lesser type A, the shorthand for which is the affable arsehole. Rough, full of himself, dismissive, but possessing an element of charm as and when required, superficial, totally self-absorbed, flitting from one thing to the other. The upper lesser type A can often be quite fun to be around, but can never ever be relied upon. Now, what would be Prince Andrew's reaction to the news that his accuser has died? We know that he doesn't sweat, well, according to him anyway, and therefore it won't be a case, would it, of him going, "Phew, that's a relief. I can stop sweating over the allegations now." Well, the fact is, he maintains that he was innocent, and he has not been subjected to any criminal investigation where charges have been brought, and even less so, anywhere near a conviction. He had a civil claim brought against him, which was settled without any admission of liability. The public has its own view as to his involvement. There are those that think he was set up, that the photograph showing him and purportedly Giuffre together was one which was doctored. There are others that believe that it is something that he had done, and he was simply maintaining a denial because of the suggestion that he was involved with a trafficked victim. Of course, given the fact that she was 17, if he had had sex with her, that's not against the law in the United Kingdom, as the age of consent was 16. And therefore, the concerns were around the fact that she may well have either not consented to the sexual activity, or if she did so as a victim of being sex trafficked, and with that came certain complications and moral implications. But with Andrew, his accuser is now dead. Will he be upset that she has died? Will he feel sorry for the fact that this clearly troubled woman has fallen prey to whatever demons have continued to haunt her? Would he experience some kind of regret that he has somehow become bound up in her misery? The short answer is no. As a narcissist, he has no emotional empathy for her, and therefore has no concern for the fact that she has passed away. He has no concern for the troubles that she has experienced. Indeed, with his brusque dismissiveness, he's likely to think that the money that was paid to her, rumoured to be several £1,000,000, ultimately ended up being wasted as a consequence of her dying just a few years after the settlement was reached. It's that kind of callous dismissiveness that the narcissist is known for. And, because he doesn't operate with a facade, it may well be the case that he would mutter as such to those within earshot. But there was also a further element to this. Do you think it's the case that Prince Andrew would be relieved that she's now dead, that whilst he dispensed with the civil claim and no criminal case ever arose, he was inextricably linked to her, and while she remained alive and campaigning, it was something that would repeatedly pose a problem for him, in that whenever she was mentioned, he would be mentioned, and the allegations against him didn't go away. This naturally would pose a threat to his need for control. Although the civil case had been settled, and as I mentioned, no criminal case was pending, the fact is that in the press and in the minds of the public, Giuffre and Prince Andrew are inextricably linked. And, as has been the case, when Giuffre has died, he gets mentioned in relation to having allegations against him brought by her. Thus, while she was alive, each time that she was reported on, for instance, in respect to the rather bizarre circumstances surrounding the car crash, the allegations against him are brought up, and they amount to a threat to control. And there will be some that would think that it would serve him well to ensure that Miss Giuffre was offed, in effect. Naturally, there'll be those whose mind, once they heard that she died, thought that it could well be the case that Prince Andrew would have organised for her to be removed, and thus ensuring that she couldn't pose any further problem to him. There is, of course, no evidence whatsoever that that has happened, and it is far more likely that the toll of the abuse and the troubled nature of this woman has culminated in her taking her own life. Nevertheless, would Prince Andrew be relieved that she is now gone? Because then it's less likely that she would appear in the press, meaning it's less likely that he would be mentioned by virtue of their names being linked. Well, actually, he wouldn't express any sense of relief about it. Why? Because he doesn't regard himself as having done anything wrong. Indeed, because of his narcissism, he sees himself as the victim in all of this, that he has been unfairly accused of doing something that he has not. Now, there are, of course, two positions here. The first is that he actually is telling the truth, and he had no involvement with her whatsoever. It's a possibility, although it does appear to be less likely given the fact that there was an admitted and witnessed friendship between him and Epstein, that he, of course, had a reputation for liking the ladies. That, of course, doesn't translate into meaning that you're going to be somebody that abuses trafficked individuals. But nevertheless, the whole background to Prince Andrew's circumstances demonstrated that he's an individual that would be more likely to be involved in such a setup than not, and that he may well have known her. But even if the denial is legitimate, the fact is he still won't feel a sense of relief, because he will regard it as wrong that he was accused and it was unfair on him, and he won't care for the fact that she's taken her own life. If he was involved to some extent, his narcissism still tells him that he wasn't. Hence he issues the denial. There is the revision of history. And again, he'll see himself as the victim of a put-up job. I didn't do anything. I didn't even meet her. I didn't know her. It couldn't have been me. I didn't sweat anymore. His narcissism ensures that he denies any involvement with her to nullify that threat to control. And thereafter, his victim mentality continues to tell him that he's the victim of not only spurious allegations from her, but also an unfair campaign against him in the press and publicly. Quite simply, it's not fair. And therefore, her demise is one whereby it wouldn't be met with relief, but almost she deserved that. Because he has no emotional empathy for her, and because she was troublesome to him, making allegations against him of the very serious nature, she was quite simply a thorn in his side, and he would prefer that she didn't exist. And given the fact that he has no emotional empathy for her, the fact that she is now dead is something that rather than feel relieved about, he would simply think, good. But there is another aspect to this also, which comes from his victim mentality. Because he maintains that he's innocent, he expected her to ultimately confirm that he was innocent. In part, this could well be magical thinking. After all, why on earth would Virginia Giuffre make allegations, receive a settlement, and then turn around and say, oh, in actual fact, he didn't do anything to me, we'd never even met? The likelihood of that is she would have to return the money, if she had any, because it would be a breach of the terms of the agreement, no doubt. Nevertheless, the deluded nature of Prince Andrew's thinking would be, she would exonerate me. She would turn around and say that in actual fact, I am innocent. He expected her to clear his name because, at the end of the day, this isn't about her being the victim of a paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. It's all about the fact that he, Andrew, is the victim of unfair allegations, and that she ought to have cleared his name. Indeed, given his self-absorbed nature, he will actually complain to those within earshot, I can't believe she so selfishly offed herself before confirming that I was innocent. No emotional empathy for the troubled life that she's led, no emotional empathy for the abuse that she suffered, no emotional empathy for the fact that she was driven to take her own life, but the selfishness of the narcissist who would be left thinking, I can't believe she's gone and done that. The least she could have done was at least confirm to everybody that I was innocent, and then she could have killed herself and done whatever she wanted, but she could have at least exonerated me first. You may find that a shocking attitude, but believe me, it's entirely commensurate with the type of narcissist that Prince Andrew is. The fact that he expects that comes from his sense of entitlement. And also, of course, it was the case that Giuffre admitted that she might have made a mistake with regard to Alan Dershowitz, the lawyer and lecturer, who was similarly accused of sexual abusive behaviour. The fact that Giuffre admitted a mistake in relation to Dershowitz means that the narcissism of Andrew would jump upon that and expect the same would be applied to him. And the fact that she has now made that impossible by taking her own life would result in an entirely expectant and selfish response from Prince Andrew, which is he's not relieved that she's gone. Indeed, he'll be annoyed that she's gone. Not because he's annoyed about the loss of fuel. He doesn't know that's what he needs. He will be annoyed by the fact that she failed to exonerate him because he maintains that he is entirely innocent. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.